Amendment number 404, printed in the congressional record, offered by Mr. Walden of Oregon.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm offering this amendment on behalf of my Energy and Commerce Committee colleague, Mr. Stearns, as well as Mr. Terry and Chairman Upton and my Appropriations colleagues, Ms. Emerson, Mr. Diaz-Balart, and Mr. Graves of Georgia. We all want an open and thriving Internet, and that Internet exists today. Consumers can access anything they want with the click of a mouse thanks to our historical hands-off approach. Changing direction now will only harm innovation and the economy. I'm bringing up this funds limitation today to prevent the Federal Communications Commission from spending funds to implement its network neutrality rules regarding the Internet. It is a stopgap measure while we work toward passing a more permanent solution. Our resolution of disapproval, HJRES 37, which would nullify the rules themselves. And I would encourage everyone who cares about keeping the government out of the business of running the Internet to co-sponsor that resolution. Before we even get into the harm the network neutrality rules will cause, it's important to realize the FCC's underlying theory of authority would allow the Commission to regulate any interstate communication service on barely more than a whim and without any additional input from the Congress. In essence, the FCC argues it can regulate anything if, in its opinion, doing so would encourage broadband deployment. I am relieved, however, that the FCC declined under its newfound authority to regulate coffee shops and bookstores, airlines, and other entities. Now, this, of course, means the FCC believes that if it had not so declined, it would have subjected Wi-Fi and coffee shops and bookstores to government management if left unchallenged. This claim of authority would allow the FCC to regulate any matter it discussed in the National Broadband Plan. Recall that the FCC concluded that consumers' concerns over privacy are deterring broadband. So does that mean the FCC can regulate Internet privacy? The National Broadband Plan also addresses health IT and distance learning, smart grid, smart home, smart transportation. Can the FCC regulate all these matters too in the name of promoting broadband? Under the FCC's rationale, its authority is only bounded by its imagination. The Internet started as a defense agency project to connect computers at research facilities. It did not become the explosive driver of communications and economic growth it is today until it was opened up to free enterprise to participate on, and the America's entrepreneurs and innovators did what they did best. They grew jobs and they created new technology. As early as the 1970s, the FCC took a hands-off approach to data services. FCC Chairman William Kennard reaffirmed this approach during the Clinton administration. In rebuffing requests to regulate cable Internet access service, Chairman Kennard explained in a 1990 speech, and I quote, "The fertile fields of innovation across the communications sector and around the country are blooming because from the get-go, we've taken a deregulatory, competitive approach to our communication structure, especially the Internet." Close quote. There's no crisis warranting departure from this approach. Most everything that the order discusses is either an unsubstantiated allegation or speculation of future harm. The FCC even confesses in its order that it's done no market analysis. It only selectively applied the rules to broadband providers, shielding web companies. If the mere threat of Internet discrimination is such a concern, and if the FCC has done no analysis to demonstrate why one company has more market power than another, why would discrimination by companies like Google or Skype be any more acceptable than discrimination by companies like AT&T or Comcast? Instead of promoting competition, such picking of winners and losers will stifle the investment needed to perpetuate the Internet's phenomenal growth, hurting the economy. Section 230 of the Communications Act makes it the policy of the United States to, quote, preserve the vibrant and competitive free market that presently exists for the Internet and other interactive computer services unfettered by federal or state regulation. Statutory statements of policy are not grants of regulatory authority, but they can help delineate the contours of that authority. In light of Congress's statutory pronouncement that Internet regulation is disfavored, the FCC's theory of regulation by bank shot stretches too far. At bottom, this is little more than an end run around the D.C. Circuit Court's April 2010 ruling in the Comcast case that the FCC failed to show it had ancillary authority to regulate network management. Therefore, I urge your support of this amendment, as well as your support of HJRES 37, our resolution of disapproval. and I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. For what purpose does the gentleman from New York rise?